Agnes Masunda, and I'm presenting a topic, Perspectives in Psychology, in response to question number 10 of the SEG Access to HE Diploma in Nursing. I'll start with the description of behaviorism psychology perspective. Behaviorism is a well-known psychological theory that emphasizes on how the environment influences how people behave. In the early 1900s, psychologists John B. Watson and B.F. Skinner proposed that psychology should concentrate on visible and measurable deeds rather than invisible or quantifiable mental processes. According to behaviorism, humans learn how to do things. People acquire new habits via operant conditioning or social learning theory. According to the operant conditioning, what happens influences how individuals behave. Key behaviorist assumptions include psychology should focus on acts that can be seen and recorded rather than mental processes. Learning occurs via classical and operant conditioning, and all actions are driven by environmental factors. John B. Watson provided an overview of the beliefs of behavioral psychology. Behavioral psychology focuses on behaviors rather than ideas. Behaviorists emphasize nature and think that people can learn their actions from their circumstances. Animal research may assist in understanding human behavior since animals and people learn in comparative ways. Ivan Pavlov developed a classical conditioning studies served as a major influence on behaviorism. Pavlov's psychology experiments included training dogs to identify a bell with food. Dogs began drooling after eating. Pavlov noted that dogs began drooling only by hearing the bell without even getting food. Pavlov's finding of learning in digestion in dogs paved way to for learning to become a separate scientific field, as well as a variety of conditioning treatments. For his initial experiment, Pavlov paired food with the natural stimulus, such as a bell. It revealed how a neutral signal may become linked with a stimulus that previously elicited that response, such as salivation when food is put on the tongue. This complicated experiment demonstrated classical conditioning, a cognitive technique that controls the behavior of animals and humans. Pavlov's study is based on traditional systematic science. John B. Watson in 1920, a psychologist, conducted a highly continuous research experiment at Johns Hopkins University with a young boy named Albert as his subject in the Little Albert experiment. Watson and his assistant Rosa Reiner successfully demonstrated that emotional reactions could be classically conditioned in people, a discovery that puts behaviorism and then applied behavior analysis on the psychological map. Researchers trained a 9-month-old child, Little Albert, to dread a white rat by coupling it with a loud jarring noise. The Little Albert experiment is well known, however, the research would not be deemed ethical today. The results strongly validate Watson and Reiner's findings that classical training may elicit a fear response. Watson and Reiner trained Little Albert, a baby, to dread rodents by coupling with a white rat with a loud, frightening noise. B.F. Skinner, the founder of behaviorism, is often given a lot of credit. Skinner developed the Skinner box to investigate the behavior and examine how rats react to varied reinforcement schedules. Basic operant training techniques were also taught to Skinner rats. Skinner put a hungry rat in a jar with a lever that the rat could press to acquire a pellet of food. The rat rapidly trained to push the lever to get the gift, which shows how rewards may change behavior. His works on operant conditioning and reinforcement has laid the groundwork for comprehending the influence of consequences of behavior. In 1938, Skinner wrote The Behavior of Organism, which introduced operant conditioning theory and reinforces it. Those ideas are still significant in psychology today. And an evaluation of the application of behaviorism to contemporary issues of psychology, diversity and inclusion. One of the key ideas of behaviorist theory is observational learning, which holds that individuals may acquire new skills and information by seeing and copying others' actions. Psychologists such as Albert Bandura have exploited this fundamental premise to give a diversity training in educational institutions and in business. According to the Very Well Mind, good role models promote observational learning. Teachers, corporate executives, and other leaders may serve as the role models for citizens and inspire them to adopt inclusive attitudes and behaviors. This works because you learn from society, which is generally acknowledged to be the source of learning. At workplace and organizational issues. Workplace and organizational problems, positive reinforcement and awards for workers. According to operant conditioning in behaviorism, acknowledging and rewarding good behavior may produce a feeling of appreciation, participation, and motivation in workers, which is likely to have some positive outcomes by inspiring people to participate in such conduct. Acknowledgement and incentives in the workplace may take forms including Employees of the Month, awards, social media acknowledgement, gifts, and additional time off. It fosters an atmosphere in which workers are appreciated for their contributions, resulting in increased job satisfaction and hence employee retention. Awards may help encourage your staff by reinforcing positive behavior. Cognitive psychology studies the mental process that leads individuals to behave in a specific way. It examines how humans see things, pay attention, recall information, learns to solve problems, and make judgments. Unlike the behaviorist approach, which processes on external stimuli, this viewpoint emphasizes internal cognitive processes. Cognitive psychology focuses on information processing, perception, environmental interpretation, memory encoding, and retrieval. The field investigates the mechanics and fundamental principles of human cognitive activities, which behaviorists deem unobservable and unworthy of scientific inquiry. Key assumptions of cognitive psychologists include: it is based on Naser's 1967 theory that the mind is a computer-like information processing device. Cognitive psychologists think that experimental approaches may be used to investigate mental processes that influence behavior. Cognitive psychologists suggest that experimental approaches may be used to investigate perception, attention, memory, and problem solving. Unlike behaviorism, which emphasizes evident environmental influences, according to cognitive psychology, humans actively analyze inputs, store information, and recall it when it's necessary. Internal mental processes impact conduct. Cognitive psychologists also think that our schema's structured collection of information influence how we perceive, understand, and react to our surroundings. Cognitive psychology has helped us comprehend human cognition, perception, and conduct by seeing the mind as an information processing system. Jean Piaget, a Swiss psychologist, was among the first to start early childhood brain development, developed a theory of cognitive development in which suggested that children go through 4 stages, distinct phases of mental development. According to his cognitive development, young infants learn about the environment in 4 stages: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operations, and formal operations. Piaget's theory was groundbreaking because it claimed that children should be active participants in their own learning rather than passive consumers of others who perform all the thinking and explaining for them. His third method was mostly qualitative, based on observations of his own children and their acquaintances. The methodological choice imposed certain limits on the results repeatedly and their generalizability. Lev Vygotsky And his social cultural model of cognitive development focuses on how social interactions and cultural tools influence cognition. According to Vygotsky, higher cognition processes are formed via social interactions and then internalized. Famous Soviet psychologist Lev Vygotsky developed the psychocultural theory of cognitive development. This theory emphasizes the role of social interactions and cultural tools in cognition. Vygotsky's theory focuses on social interaction. The more informed are the zone of proximal development, scaffolding, internalization, and language. Unlike Piaget, he argued that higher cognitive processes emerge from social interactions before being internalized. That is according to Gorey 2023. Evaluation of the application of cognitive psychology to the contemporary issues. Mental health and well-being. Many individuals who are depressed and anxious benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy, which is based on cognitive psychology, according to Beck 1976. This strategy identifies and eliminates negative thoughts and concepts that are detrimental of your well-being. Psychodynamic theory attempts to explain how unconscious processes and early experiment influence thoughts, emotions, and actions. Psychodynamic theory treats unconscious tensions and unresolved challenges using free association, interpretation, and transference analysis. Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Melanie Klein, and Anna Freud all impacted psychodynamic therapy, a kind of speech therapy. In the therapeutic approach, patients consult with a competent specialist to resolve their issues. Diversity and inclusion. Cognitive psychology has been used to help people make decisions and solve challenges in diversity and inclusion. Cognitive errors and heuristics may influence how people make judgments, leading to prejudice and stereotypes, according to Travex and Clement 1974. Some argue that cognitive psychology is undesirable because it focuses on how social and cultural elements influence conduct, and the methodologies utilized in research may be unrealistic, according to Bandura 1977. People have unconscious biases and attitudes towards other people or groups. Their preconceptions and attitudes are influenced by their life experiences, education, and background. In professional settings, prejudice based on race, gender, age, and appearance may influence how people make choice and interact with other people. In workplace and organizational issues, cognitive psychology concepts such as burnout and job satisfaction may contribute to a healthier and more productive workplace. Burnout occurs when you emotionally, physically, and psychologically exhausted from excessive stress. Employees may not work as hard or as well. Being happy at work may affect how motivated you are, how involved you are, and how well the company performs. Cognitive psychology is particularly critical for business learning and development programs to operate. If the content is set up in the right way, students may learn new skills without feeling overwhelmed. People and organizations may become better at what they do, work quicker, and gain new skills with the aid of the training programs. We move on to the analysis of the similarities between behaviorism and cognition and cognitive psychology. Nature versus nature. In both cases, the importance of environmental variables, nature, in the formation of behavior is emphasized. Determinism versus free will. Both points of view accept the impact that one's prior experiences have on one's actions, which is at least somewhat consistent with the determinist viewpoint. Research methods. Experiments and observations are examples of empirical scientific research procedures that are used extensively in both of these approaches. An analysis of the differences between behaviorism and cognitive psychology. Nature versus nature. Behaviorism typically leans towards the influence of upbringing while minimizing the significance of inherent characteristics. While cognitive psychology recognizes the reciprocal influence of both genetic and environmental factors on behavior. Behaviorism is more inclined to be hard determinist, prioritizing the examination of visible actions rather than internal cognitive processes. Whilst cognitive psychology, they are more inclined to be soft determinists, acknowledging the influence of both internal and environmental influences on behavior. Behaviorism typically adopts a reductionist approach, analyzing behavior by breaking it down into smaller stimulus-response relationships, whilst cognitive psychology adopts a comprehensive perspective, seeing the mind as an intricate mechanism. Behaviorism is conducted on controlled studies to influence environmental cues and detect subsequent changes in behavior. Direct observation of explicit, quantifiable actions concentrate on numerical statistics such as reaction times and mistake rates. Whilst, on the other hand, cognitive psychology is conducted in controlled studies to empirically evaluate ideas on cognitive processes. Observation, questionnaires, interviews, and think aloud procedures are used to gather both quantitative, such as response times and accuracy, and qualitative data, such as verbal reports and eye tracking. Thank you.